Wait a second, that's too short. I want to talk some more.
To a rat, you know.
That
Anyway.
makes me mad!
Hello my friends, we meet again. It has been a while. Where should we begin? Sweating Bullets is the 5th track off of Megadeth's 5th album, Countdown to Extinction. Sweating Bullets is one of the stranger songs in Megadeth's catalog, not only for the instrumentation, but for the lyrical content, which is something many artists would never touch, but Dave Mustaine seems to thrive on this sort of manic, unhinged lyrics here. And of course, let us not forget the wild and crazy vocal delivery he gives us. The song tells the story of a man who is slowly losing his mind or has already lost it. Multiple personalities, schizophrenia, and dementia make the person in the story seemingly commit some heinous acts of violence in these manic states, yet afterwards he does not remember them. It seems to perhaps be a sequel to Good Morning Black Friday. In that song, it is described as something or someone taking over the character in the song, who then goes out on a murderous killing spree. But we will get to that later when we take a look at the lyrics of the song. We will go through the song section by section, and I will briefly mention the lyrics as we go through, and then at the end of the song, we will take a look at the lyrics in totality. So, today, we will dive deep into the song and see just why it works. Deconstructing the lyrics and music theory, this is the Sweating Bullets deep dive on metal masterpieces. Before we begin, I have some merch for sale on my website. I also have a Patreon, which you should check out. And thank you to the Patreon supporters I have right now. So, come hang out in the Discord, and enough of that, let's get into the song. I will be looking at the song using the original 1992 release version. The remastered versions, especially the 2004 one, changed some things, and as I explained in this video, I very much prefer the originals. However, if the remastered sound is better to you, then you should just listen to that. You know, everyone has their own taste, and if you like the remasters, well, you're wrong. But who am I to judge? I mentioned this right away as the 2004 remasters start off the song with a lone guitar playing the opening lead pattern before the drum fill really begins the song. And in all honesty, you guys, I find this intro unnecessary. You know, this lead intro motif is cool, focusing on the diminished 5th interval for that extra unhinged sound, but I mean, it isn't all that interesting. And the same lead will just be played the exact same way, just harmonized right after the drum fill to the intro. I very much prefer the original sudden way the song starts, and I think so does Dave and the rest of the band, as in the 2012 masters, the intro is once again cut. Oh, the joys of remasters and remixes. Thus, the song begins with a cool drum fill from Nick Menza, one which I always have to air drum every time I hear it. It is short but iconic, great stuff, and a great way to open up the song. The song is played in E minor, and we'll touch on this later on, and played at around 165 beats per minute. The song also contains a lot of triplet feel, which gives it a lot of the stumbling off-kilter feel here. After Nick Menza's fill, the rest of the band comes in, and the intro lead I mentioned earlier is played, or played again if you're listening to the wrong version. Marty takes the lead, and Dave plays this interesting pattern of dyads. Beginning the opening E5 power chord, he simply mirrors the lead pattern, but an octave lower, and then adds the major third of every note that is played. A very interesting choice that is most certainly not in the key of E minor, but still somehow retains this feel due to the E5 power chord at the beginning. David Ellefson's bass simply plays the lower octave. All of this combined together gives this intro section an extremely unhinged and unsettled feeling. It's almost in key, but it's not. It's almost sane, but it's close to snapping. A great little intro which fits the lyrical themes of the song perfectly. Very well done by the band. The song then moves into the first verse section, which is dominated instrumentally by a short little guitar motif that gets repeated throughout the verses. The band plays power chords moving from the diminished 5th, or we can call it the tritone power chord, down to the 4th and then up to the root. This is repeated over and over throughout the verse sections. This is matched by the drums, where during the vocal section, Nick Menza only plays the hi-hat softly before exploding on the crashes and snare with the guitars. This instrumentation leaves a ton of space for the vocals to take the spotlight, and even without the vocals, this section already sounds crazy. You know, isn't the definition of insanity doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results?
Hello, me. Meet the real me. And my misfits wavel.
The verse also contains the first vocal lines, which starts off with the incredibly memeable line, "Hello, me. Meet the real me." And we'll get to the lyrics in just a moment, but let us talk about Mustaine's vocal delivery here on the song. Dave Mustaine's vocals have always been love it or hate it, and on Sweating Bullets here, he takes his part singing, part talking, and part grunting vocal style and cranks it up another notch with some really unhinged theatrical delivery. Now, Dave has given some rather out there vocal performances before, but here on Sweating Bullets, the vocal delivery is very much tied to the lyrical theme of the song.
A dark black past is my most valued possession.
So in the context of the song, with the wild, dynamic music, which here in the verse leaves a lot of space for the vocals, this very theatrical, almost cartoonish way he performs the song works really, really well, in my opinion, to sell the idea of it being an unhinged and crazy song. Dave Mustaine sounds like he's in pain, like he is grimacing while singing these words. His voice is also very gravelly in the verses, as he adds a lot of low grit to his more nasally, snarly voice that normally he uses. It works very well, especially with the tongue-in-cheek lyrics. Good stuff. Dave snarls at us. "Hello, me. Meet the real me. And my misfits way of life. A dark black past is my most valued possession. Hindsight is always 20/20, but looking back, it's still a bit fuzzy. Speak of mutually assured destruction? Nice story. Tell it to Reader's Digest." The music video perfectly sets the scene for the lyrics. Several Dave Mustaine speak these words to each other with the unhinged instrumentation and delivery. It all works together very well to convince us that he is actually crazy.
Mutually assured destruction. Nice story. Tell it to Reader's Digest.
And like I said earlier, I will look at the lyrics as a whole later on, but the Reader's Digest line here is very interesting. Reader's Digest is, and was, one of the biggest and most popular consumer magazines in the world, and would often contain readers writing in with their own amusing stories or anecdotes. It is just classic Dave Mustaine to name drop something like this in a song, and I don't think a metal band has ever since or before mentioned Reader's Digest other than Sweating Bullets. This also indicates the lack of compassion or concern most people had towards problems of the mind back in the early 90s. You know, it's met with derision, right? Who cares? Go tell it to Reader's Digest.
Nice story. Tell it to Reader's Digest. Feeling paranoid to win.
The band with a huge pick slide and drum fill then moves straight into the chorus of the song. No pre-chorus here to speak of. The drums now play a more traditional metal beat as Dave Mustaine and David Ellefson gave us a nice chunky power chord laden riff, complete with the diminished 5 power chord from earlier, and at the end of every 4 bars they land on the diminished 2nd chord of E minor, which is F.
Paranoid to enemy of fostering anxiety.
These interval choices and chunky syncopated rhythm gives this riff a nice stumbling sort of off-kilter bounce to it. It is almost mad in a way, almost jovial. Over top of this riff, Marty plays this very unsettled chromatic descending dyad lead pattern.
I'm in trouble for things I haven't got.
The dyad shape he is using here has all the notes separated by only one whole tone, starting by playing the E and D together and then descending chromatically from there before ending on the open G string, which of course matches with the other instruments who end the same section on the E5 power chord. So after all that chromaticism, the band lands together on the root E minor chord as a sort of resolution. So as these notes descend together, they give off quite the erratic and deranged sound to them. That chromatic movement works really well here. The vocals in the chorus are also very, very interesting. Here we have 2 Dave Mustaine voices being sung at the same time. One is following the rhythm guitar melody, and the other is following the chromatic descent of Marty's lead. Very cool touch. Not only is it interesting melodically, but it also sort of fits the schizophrenic theme of the song. One voice is more solid and grounded to the rhythm and key of the song, and the other is slowly descending into madness. Great stuff. You can really hear the effect that this gives off in the isolated vocals.
Feeling paranoid, true enemy of phosphorant.
But when combined with the guitar tracks as well, you really hear the effect that this gives off.
Feeling paranoid, true enemy of phosphorant.
The two Daves sing, feeling paranoid, true enemy or false friend. Anxiety's attacking me and my air is getting thin. I'm in trouble for the things I haven't got to yet. I'm chomping at the bit and my palms are getting wet. Sweating bullets. You know, of course, sweating bullets is a phrase that is used commonly to denote extreme nervousness or anxiousness, like you are sweating profusely with nervousness or anxiety. Interesting lyrics combined with all the unhinged instruments. Dave Mustaine seems to be describing a panic attack here. Anxiety attacks and he's feeling like he's out of breath, like the air is getting thin.
And my palms are getting wet.
The main hook of the song is when the other voice drops out and we get a doubled line of Dave singing the classic line, sweating bullets, before the band goes straight into the second verse. Ultimately, the chorus here is excellent. The whole thing, the whole chorus really just sounds like a person on the edge of snapping completely. With the lyrics, vocal delivery, and unhinged instruments, it all just works really well together here. Great stuff.
Hello, me, it's me again. You can subdue but never tame.
As the song moves into the second verse, we get yet another set of lines delivered by Dave Mustaine in a fashion that only he could really pull off. Hello, me. It's me again. You can subdue but never tame me. It gives me a migraine headache sinking down to your level. Yeah, just keep on thinking it's my fault and stay an inch or two out of kicking distance. Mankind has got to know his limitations. Here in this verse, we begin to see that the two Daves are very much opposed to each other, with the angrier, more violent one looking to control and dominate the other. The lines here also suggest that the character in question has been drugged or maybe straitjacketed, institutionalized maybe, as evidenced by the line, stay an inch or two out of kicking distance. Right, if you're in a straitjacket, all you can do is kick somebody. His vocal delivery here is much more unhinged, especially on the migraine headache line.
It gives me a migraine headache, sinking down to your level.
Like, just great stuff by Dave Mustaine here. Great, entertaining music. The second chorus comes in again with a huge pick slide and another drum fill, and we get a slight variation in the chorus lyrics.
Mankind has got to know his limitations.
Feeling claustrophobic, like the walls are closing in. Blood stains on my hands, and I don't know where I've been. I'm in trouble for the things I haven't got to yet. I'm sharpening the axe, and my palms are getting wet. Sweating bullets. I'm in trouble for the things I haven't got to yet. Almost suggests that being crazy is a crime in itself, which, if you kind of think about it, it is. You get locked up, you lose your freedom. Anyways, we'll touch on that later. Played and sung in the exact same fashion as the first chorus, with really the only change is the lyrics. This describes a feeling of claustrophobia and periods of time where the character has no recollection of the events. Cool stuff, and a nice little small change to the chorus to keep it fresh and intriguing. As the second chorus's sweating bullets line hangs out, the band moves into the bridge section, which I must say is incredibly underrated in influence. This is essentially a proto-breakdown. There's tons of groove metal influence here, with the guitar palm mutes and kick drums being locked in tight in unison. Excellent stuff, and you can tell that mid-2000s Megadeth certainly looked towards this whole section for inspiration. The band plays this palm-muted chugging riff while Nick Menza syncs the snare hits up with them. The guitar riff is similar to what's being played in the verses, but definitely different. After 12 bars, with a big drum fill, we move on into the solo of the song. First, before we get into the solo, I just want to say I absolutely love the sound of the drums on this album. They're just so chunky and fat sounding. The ride cymbal is very, very present in the mix, and it sounds absolutely fantastic. Here, check out the isolated drums here. Dave Mustaine plays the solo in this song. The solo, which is played over the same riff as before, has some excellent moments. It focuses heavily on chromatic descending movements, like someone's mental health is slowly deteriorating and spiraling downward. It sounds like a coherent normal Megadeth solo in some parts before once again descending into madness. The solo is ended when the tremolo pick section suddenly jumps up much higher in register and moves up chromatically, playing diminished fifth little dyads before Dave lands on the high D and bends up to the E at the end here. This little section to me almost sounds like a person in question is reaching the breaking point. Everything is building up inside his head until it finally reaches his breaking point and he snaps.
Hey guys, just doing the editing here, and I forgot I realized to mention that Megadeth always does a really good job of continuing the story that the lyrics are trying to tell with the solos. They're not just simply exercises in showing off their skills or how many notes you can play in, 30 seconds. They always continue the story and try to extrapolate it. Here in Sweating Bullets, they do a really good job of trying to make it sound like a person is reaching their breaking point. Five Magics does also a really good job at this, as well as Lucretia, which you should check out my videos on. So yeah, I just realized I forgot to mention that, and this is a perfect example of that in this song here. So great job, Megadeth and Dave Mustaine.
As the solo ends on the high E, the band moves on into the next part of the bridge. Here the band plays this descending power chord pattern, which starts on the diminished second of E minor, which is the F power chord, before it goes to the sixth chord, which is C, then to the 5, which is B, before to the third of G, and then finally back to the root of E. This little descending power chord section sounds like two personalities battling. The diminished second trying to take it over before the regular person brings it back down to earth, back to the root, to reality, back to earth. A cool little moment, and one which may sound like a series of descending power chords, but upon peeling back the layers of the Megadeth onion, it becomes a lot more interesting as their note choices and chord choices are very, very specific and chosen on purpose. As that section ends on the big open E5 power chord, the tempo slows down a bit to 140 beats per minute. We then see the reappearance of the diminished second F power chord. This time the band simply moves up one fret to play it. Then they move up to the actual second F sharp before moving on to the next little riff that plays here. The band then plays another riff which sees the main chord tone descend from the minor 7th of E minor, which of course is D, down to the 5th of A. In between these notes, the band plays this little repeating pattern on the E string, and before finishing every fourth bar with a 5-note chromatic pattern on the E string. Some very cool riffage here, with a lot of chromatic movement. It sounds very menacing and evil. Tune these guitars down to A, and we have some proto slam. I'm just kidding, of course. While this is going on in the background, we hear some weird and very unsettling vocals, which you can hear much better in the isolated tracks.
I hear it in here. I hear it in here. I hear it.
Blood stains on my hands.
To big X, 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 to big X.
And I could never really understand what was being said here in the background, but thanks to the isolated vocals, we can quite clearly hear what is being said. It is a cool little section. All the chromaticism combined with the unhinged vocals and effects really gives us the vibe that the person is fully insane now. The evil Dave inside him has won and taken over. This is all but confirmed when the band plays another little descending chromatic line, which plays on first the D string, then an octave lower on the E string, before the band once again lands on that big open E5 power chord. This power chord is combined with a maniacal laugh, combined with Dave's voice saying sweating, but it continually gets more high-pitched and distorted. The band also puts a flanger on the drum track here, which really gives it a cool effect of being warped and distorted. This all combines to really sell the fact that Insane Dave is in control now. Great stuff, and one of my favorite Megadeth bridges, easily.
Well, me, it's nice talking to myself.
The band then moves on into the third verse, and we get another set of lyrics. Well, me, it's nice talking to myself. a credit to dementia. Someday you too will know my pain and smile its black-toothed grin. If the war inside my head won't take a day off, I'll be dead. My icy fingers claw your back. Here I come again. The Here I Come Again line has to be one of my favorites in all of Megadeth. It is just so absurdly cartoonish, you cannot help but smile when you hear it.
Fingers claw your back. Here I come again.
Here I come again! Ah, man, just great stuff that only Megadeth could ever pull off.
My icy fingers claw your back. Here I come again.
The third chorus comes and we get a combination in lines from chorus 1 and chorus 2, which is very cool. Feeling paranoid, true enemy or false friend. Anxiety's attacking me and my air is getting thin. Feeling claustrophobic like the walls are closing in. Blood stains on my hands. And I don't know where I've been. You know, it's a very cool little touch here. Notice how, despite the instruments playing the same thing at the end, the band omits a Sweating Bullets line, saving it for the end of the song. Now the band moves into the coda, which sees the return of the double bass synced with the palm-muted guitar chugs, this time playing 3 notes every quarter beat. The guitar line, while playing the continuous palm mutes, simply plays the same riff as the chorus, but instead of pauses, simply just pedals the current note it ends on. This is combined with the same deranged lead that Marty continues playing, and all this works together very well. Dave sings these lines more or less in unison with the rhythm guitar lines, just an octave higher. Once you've committed me, now you've acquitted me. Claiming validity for your stupidity. I'm chomping at the bit, I'm sharpening the axe. Here I come again, sweating bullets. And on this last Sweating Bullets line, the song ends, leaving us in awe at the maniacal metal masterpiece we have just heard. Musically, the song is very off-kilter with odd rhythms, very unsettling note choices, and tons of chromaticism. The song therefore matches the lyrical content extremely well. Great stuff, and just absolutely fantastic songwriting by Megadeth here. On to the lyrics. It is very clear that the lyrics describe a man suffering from some sort of mental health crisis. In doing research for this video, I've seen various viewpoints on how the song is a metaphor for the Cold War and mutually assured destruction, or his inner voices urging him to relapse, or even that it was about the girlfriend of one of his friends who was in and out of jail losing her mind. Now, I was unable to find the sources which any of these people claimed were from, none of the interviews or magazine articles or anything like that, but Google search has been terrible recently, so if you guys know of any of these sources, please, put them down in the comments. I would love to read it. But yeah, so I'll leave it up to you guys. Let me know down below what you guys think the lyrics are about. To me, I believe this song is an exaggerated metaphor of Dave's own mental health. I mentioned earlier how losing control of oneself in a bout of mental health lapsing is sort of a common theme in Megadeth songs, notably Good Morning Black Friday. I almost view this song as the aftermath of Good Morning Black Friday. Here, after the murderous events of that song, we find the narrator, Dave, locked up in a prison or some sort of mental health facility where his personalities battle it out in his head. Here in Sweating Bullets, we get a glimpse into a person struggling with schizophrenia and multiple personality disorder, and as Dave really puts it simply, dementia. He tells us of a, quote, dark black past, end quote, which is this other personality's most valued possession. And later on in the third verse, he tells the other sane personality that, quote, one day you too will know my pain and smile its black-toothed grin. It seems more or less as if the other insane murderous personality is holding the sane one hostage. Quote, speak of mutually assured destruction. End quote. It's sharpening the axe, it's chomping at the bit, it wants to come out, it comes out, right? That's what the song is sort of describing, this sort of urge to let some other entity take over. The choruses and bridge seem to describe the panic attack and anxiety that comes when the hostile, insane personality begins to take over. Quote, anxiety's attacking me and, quote, feeling claustrophobic like the walls are closing in, end quote. And I've already described how the bridge sort of describes this musically rather than lyrically. The lyrics also seem to describe how the person seems to be institutionalized in an attempt to quell the murderous voices in his head, that the character has been prescribed meds, maybe some sort of antipsychotics. Quote, It gives me a migraine headache sinking down to your level, end quote. You know, it's tough, and despite the medications and other things like that, all it does is simply give him a headache as the voices are still trying to come out. The coda then describes how the insane side of the personality deals with what seems to be a sentence of not criminally responsible due to insanity. Personality claims that everyone is stupid for thinking this is a valid way to treat someone. Now you've committed me, now you've acquitted me. He is now committed to an institution, and thus he's been acquitted of any responsibility. You know, it's an interesting set of lyrics. It is hard dealing with mental health issues, and while it certainly can be that Dave Mustaine was simply writing a song about schizophrenia, I think it may be a more grand metaphor for his own inner battles. The voice inside him urging him to relapse into his various addictions, or that famous rage that he's been known for, you know, that fiery ginger attitude. You know what? Or maybe it's just simply what it is face value, a song about schizophrenia and losing your mind. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I am curious to hear your thoughts on this. One of my favorite Megadeth songs easily. You know, make sure to check out my merch and Patreon. Thanks for watching, guys. Got lots more videos coming up. So long and good night.